Hey, my name is Eric, and in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how to start an LLC. So the reason I'm making this video is I've actually gone through this process myself, as I have my own personal business, was a side hustle, is now my full-time gig, and I needed to make sure that I was going to limit my liability. So that's the first thing I want to talk about before we get into the cheapest methods and routes for you to start up an LLC and do it quickly. One of the things that's a common misconception is people think that there's some sort of tax advantage in having an LLC. There is not. It's strictly for limiting your liability. And what it does is it kind of creates a firewall between you and your personal assets. So your business and your personal are separated, as long as you don't give somebody the opportunity to pierce the corporate veil, which we're going to talk about in a little bit as well. But first, as this video is titled, Starting an LLC, there are really three ways you can do this. One of them is, I'm in New York State, is you can just do something like form an LLC NYS, right? And the advantage of going this route is that this is going to be the cheapest way typically to be able to form an LLC. The disadvantage is that you're going to be dealing with a government website, and as you can see, they tend to look horrible, and it can be very frustrating as far as the experience of what to do next and what you're supposed to be doing. So in my personal opinion, this route used to be pretty good because you'd at least save some money, but there's been new advances for starting an LLC that I think are a little bit better. Method two is you can contact an attorney. The nice part about this is they're gonna be able to consult with you and figure out, is an LLC the right designation, the right entity for your business, or maybe should you consider something else such as an S Corp for tax purposes, but they'll be able to talk through that with you. The downside being is this might cost you anywhere from $400 to $1,000 to get set up because that attorney's going to get paid for their time. One of the nice things, and you may be very familiar with this, LegalZoom's kind of the one that pioneered this online tool where you can get set up with an LLC. They spent a ton of money on marketing, so they need to recoup that investment. So what they're doing is it's $79 plus filing fees, and we'll talk about filing fees in a moment. Since this service came out, there have been other ones that have come out, one being Zen Business, and you can see that theirs is actually $49, which is billed annually, plus a $200 fee. So it's going to be $200 with them for your fee, and then a $49 annual bill. And then what I had on the screen earlier is InkFile, which actually starts at $0, which kind of sounds like it's a scam, but I will get into why they actually don't charge anything for their basic pricing. So if you're just looking to get set up for cheap, but also not have the terrible experience of going through your state's website, I would suggest this service, as I think they do a great job of walking you through the process and making it really easy. So as I said, it's free, but you're like, why is it $205? Well, the package fee is $0, but the state fee is $205. So what they have on this website though is they have some really good resources as well on what your state fee is. And the way you can find these resources is in the Learning Center. In this particular one, I'm on state filing prices, and there's also times. So you can go down and look at an LLC and find your state and figure out what the actual fee is charged by the state for that LLC. As you can see, Massachusetts is $520, and then other states are cheaper. I have heard a lot of people say that you should set up in Delaware or Wyoming because the price is good and it's good privacy. I've been advised from an attorney, set up in your own state. Don't get cute and think that you're gonna set up in Delaware or Wyoming, and then when you have an issue come down the line that you're gonna be covered. He said don't bother doing that. Set up in your own state. Other thing that's interesting is your state filing times. Again, in the Learning Center here, they have their filing times. This will go down, this will give you an idea of how long it takes, whether you do expedited or normal through this service. So if you are in a pinch, you may want to try the expedited service. So this service is really easy. Just because you click incorporate now, it's going to ask you, what type of entity, an LLC, you're going to pick your state, and then it's just going to walk you through. And if you do want the upsell, you can go through some of these. I will let you know things such as the business banking account and the business tax consultation. I've found that those are actually still included in the silver plan. So if you want to go with that one, that's something that you can do. Getting the EIN business tax number set up for you though, that was a pain in the butt in my situation, just because anytime you're dealing with government websites and things like that, I think it gets confusing. So in my opinion, that's kind of where it's worth that $150 fee if you are getting an EIN tax number. But if you pick this package here, it's just going to walk you through. It's real simple, real easy to do, and they got it all covered for you. So I do think there is a question you should be asking yourself though of like, what is the purpose of your LLC? Of course you want to limit your liability, but are you in a business that has growing revenues and you think there might be opportunities for you to limit your tax liability as well? So they have a really cool feature on this website. It's called the Corp Tax Calculator. So I will do my best to explain this to you. I am not a CPA or attorney. I have just gone through all these processes, and this is from my experience what I find to be the best. But if you look at this, the way this works is you might put in what your estimated yearly net income for your business is going to be. So let's say it's $60,000. Now, what is the salary you'd like to pay yourself as an S corporation? What you can do as an S corp is you can put yourself on the books as an employee and you take a reasonable salary, and that kind of ranges depending on what your net income for the business is. And then what it does is it helps you limit your tax liability. So let's say, your net income is $60,000, but your salary, why don't we just make it 32 so it's a little bit off and it's not perfect. So now if you go down, if you were a sole proprietor and you're just set up as an LLC as a sole proprietor, you would have paid $9,180 on $60,000 of net profit. But if you're set up as an S corporation, that's where the taxes paid are $4,896. So you would save $4,284 as an S corp. And if we scroll up here, the reason for that is your employment, payroll, and self-employment tax. So these add up to 15.3% as of 2016. So what happens is if you're a sole proprietor, you're paying all 15.3% of that. When you're a normal employee, you're paying about half of that. So when you set up with an S corp, what you can do is you can be an employee of the business. So when you're taxed as that employee, you're still getting hit with the whole 15.3%, right? So this $32,000, but the remaining $28,000 you can pay to yourself as a draw. And in that way, what you do is you only end up paying about half of this 15.3%. So that is where this tax savings is coming from, is the leftover money in the till, so to speak, that you can pay to yourself as a draw from the business is actually taxed at about half of the rate as you would be if you were a sole proprietor. So just something to think about. This is a cool tool to, again, to play around with. Learning Center, and then go to the S Corp Tax Calculator. Hopefully you learned something just in this little bit right here. If you have a complicated situation, not a bad idea to seek out an attorney's advice on it. It might be worth kind of skipping over these, online tools that are done for you. So the one catch with InkFile is they are going to get you set up with a registered agent. And I believe it's $119. Don't quote me on that, but that fee will kick in on year 2. It is nice because it helps kind of keep you a little bit more private from your, the mail that would come in, your emails, solicitations, and those. And it also creates a service where they're going to remind you on the important paperwork that you need to do each year. Earlier in the video, I talked about piercing the corporate veil. Basically, if you get sued, the attorney that's doing the suing, that's suing you, is going to try to pierce the corporate veil so that not only can they come after your business assets, they can come after your personal. So if you forget to renew your state fee, I know in New York State, I believe it's every 2 years, and you don't renew with the state, they could pierce the corporate veil. If your personal and business finances are not cleanly separated, that's why it's important to have a business bank account, they can pierce the corporate veil. All these things are things to consider. So I like the idea of going with InkFile myself. If you do want to go with an attorney, that might be a good idea. Just make sure you're aware of all the fees that they're going to be charging you and that there is a separate state fee and their fee. As far as InkFile being trusted, I mean, you see all the social proof on their homepage here, over 250,000 businesses since 2004, and they're on Entrepreneur Magazine's list of 360 best entrepreneurial companies in America. So they're legit in that way. I do have an affiliate link in the description below. Even though it's still $0 for you to get set up with them, if you go with their lowest plan, I will make a commission. I appreciate using my link because it helps me to make more of these educational videos to help more people. Speaking of more educational videos, if you currently do not have some sort of cloud-based accounting software to keep track of everything, I did do a video on the screen right now that you can see that's QuickBooks versus FreshBooks, as I was reviewing those two services for myself, and I'll explain why I went with one of those providers over the other. All right, guys, I will catch you in the next video.